Nerd or not, we're allergic to the new Spore Drive.
It's Quizno ads that were like the hot and happening thing in like 2003 or so.
Oh, with that fucking hamster thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a pepper bar. Yep.
We got a pepper bar!
And yet I'm not hungry for Quiznos.
What's up, Cretans? Welcome back to episode 30 of the Nerd or Not podcast. We have entered our third decade measurement system of podcasting. We're now in not triple digits, we're still in double digits, but we've reached a 3 at the front of it. As you know, we give our opinion on a wide range of topics, everything and anything under the bright nerd sun, all promoting fellowship, conversation, and humor every chance we get. And of course, that is made better because Corey has returned! Woo! Yay! Welcome back, Corey. Corey, I love the wood paneling behind you. How goes it in the Great White North of Chicago with all your mystical Middle Eastern women that guide you from rooftop bar to rooftop bar?
Making me sound like just this low-level Tony Stark.
I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go.
No, dude, we talked about shoes and what our favorite types of tall drinks were. That's pretty much it. I'm not even shitting you. We were giving each other fashion tips while sitting there in the middle of 3 Dots and a Dash, while the rest of the River North crowd friggin' suffocated all of us.
But it happened.
It did happen, yeah.
It did happen.
It did happen, but it wasn't like I was just sitting there playing. I was not. So it wasn't that. Just jettison that image out of your head.
Never.
Remove the smoking jacket.
I will. No, there's no smoking jacket. It's just purely you.
Should have been.
And these buxom belly dancers descending upon you in the middle of a tiki bar and whisking you away to the top of the Willis Tower to go have a drink at whatever rooftop hellhole is up there that I would vomit off of.
Well, first off, it's the Sears Tower. Second off,
I don't live there. It's the fucking Willis Tower. I don't give a shit what they say.
That's true. I'm just trying to help you out. If you're here for any extended period of time, that may be useful information.
Oh, I'm not stupid. I ain't going to call it the Willis Tower when I'm there. But when I'm not there, I'll go by its preferred nomenclature. Well, it's not preferred, but current nomenclature.
Yeah, and secondly, I'm not Leisure Suit Larry of Arabia. That scenario... That scenario never happened.
Leisure Suit Lawrence of Arabia?
Leisure Suit Lawrence of Arabia.
There we are. All right, artists that are watching the show, someone please make some fan art of Leisure Suit Lawrence of Arabia so we can put that as our icon on Twitter or whatever the hell. As always, I am Jay. With me is Bob and Corey. Hey. We are the Cretans Guild, celebrating currently about approaching 28 to 30 years of friendship now. So it's embarrassing how old we are. You can you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, Google, Podbean, YouTube, Tout, Twitch.
Tout?
I don't know. It's something Daniel Bryan jokes about all the time.
Okay, all right.
Bob has his own show on the WWE Network now. I've got a new show starting off with Guy Fieri on, I called him Guy, on Food Network, where it's chubby douches yelling loudly. And Corey, of course, has a hit sitcom over on Al Jazeera with all the Middle Eastern women. Oh, wow.
I dream of Corey. Where is he?
We lost him. He's gone.
Oh, God. I'm gonna can I do the show with a fucking plastic bag over my head?
Oh, man.
No. All right, guys, anyway.
We've been getting some love from some other podcasts. We want to, of course, give that love back. And today we are talking about the Wild Pitch Podcast. If you've not heard it, the Wild Pitch Podcast is a show where Derek and his friends have 3 items submitted to them, and they must spin the topic or element into a consumable product of some kind.
Really?
Yeah. It's you got to listen to this to hear how they work this out, and for some way they make it work each time. It's the most creative and bizarre thing.
That's a pretty amusing concept. There's quite a bit of value there. Interesting. Huh.
Here at the Wild Pitch Innovation Labs, we are constantly striving to bring you the most amazing advancements in, well, just about everything. My little robot friend Mr. Rando is spitting out random things.
Popeye the Sailor Man. Sexual tension.
And then myself and some of my inventive entrepreneur friends from across the globe are using those random elements. Found by the handyman is a pair of oversized foam rubber forearm sleeves to come up with the products, movies, games, etc. that will shape our futures. Forearms are waterproof and can be used as flotation devices. The inner filling is high in protein and can be eaten if all else fails. Each forearm has matching Assassin's Creed-style blades towards the palm. And you can find these amazing results every other Wednesday on The Wild Pitch. Go to wildpitchpodcast.com/subscribe to get started today.
All right, guys, so there it is. Creative ridiculousness at its finest. Wild Pitch can be found on iTunes, Google, SoundCloud, Podbean, Twitter, and Instagram, or you can just go to the wildpitchpodcast.com. Drop the from that. It's just wildpitchpodcast.com. Give it a listen. Tell Derek that the Cretan sent you. And, yeah, enjoy, because it's really fucking strange.
What, them or us?
Well, yes.
Perfect.
So we got some news items coming up real quick. If you guys watched last episode, we had a bit of a bet going on with the Derailers podcast, and we lost. So thanks, Bob.
Sorry.
And we lost control of our Twitter for a short time. Had a bet with the Derailers podcast over who could score more points on a PW scorecards with the Survivor Series. Episode 29, Bob, you proved it was a pretty tough thing to pick, huh?
Yeah, those the two Survivor Series matches, the men's and the women's, those were really difficult, especially the women's, where the entire roster wasn't fully announced. They still had question marks.
Yeah. So we lost 74-68, and we had to call ourselves We Got Derailed on Twitter for a week, which it's cute and fun, and I look forward to kicking their ass when the Royal Rumble comes along, because fuck you guys, we're winning next time. Bob, we have a note here in the rundown that says you're sorry?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Pull that up.
Well, I'm afraid I might have inadvertently pissed some people off, and I have to say I'm sorry about that. I put some
inadvertently.
Well, yeah, I like a daily basis almost. I had put something on Twitter the other day asking people to give us questions, and just to be cute, I put a little GIF of I typed in questions GIF, and a bunch came up, and this one particular came up. It's like, I'll use that, whatever.
Is this the one I sent you a message on?
Yep.
What
had no
happened?
idea.
What happened? Because yeah.
So it was a GIF of you know who JonTron is from YouTube?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, JonTron went on a huge nationalist, anti-immigration, anti-Semite rant a few months ago. So we put that on our Twitter, and I was like, hey, we might not want to have that dude representing us right now.
Again,
but
no idea. I heard of the PewDiePie stuff. I'd never heard of this for JonTron before.
Yeah, it's just, the only reason I know about this is because someone brought it up on the gaming subreddit, where people are like, "Whoa, what the fuck is happening here? This guy was funny yesterday. He's lost his goddamn mind."
Yeah.
So it happens. YouTubers suck.
Find us on YouTube.
Yeah, find us on YouTube, where we're at least upfront about being offensive. So we've managed to squeeze in some media lately. Mm-hmm. Us, the Cretans here. I know, Corey, you and I have gotten through Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. And season 2 was great. Bob hasn't seen it yet, so that's as far as the discussion on that's going to go.
It's on the list.
It is on the list, and yes, you are off for the next couple of weeks. So by next episode, I expect to at least have some discussion on season 1 of
fair enough.
Stranger Things. Okay. But Bob, you've seen Thor. Corey, you have seen both Punisher and Coco and Thor, so you can put in comments there. Yep. And I have seen Justice League. So we're gonna give a little bit of talk about that. Bob, why don't you start off with Thor and give your spoiler-free summary and review of the film?
All right. Now, Thor is right up there, in my opinion, is what a comic book movie should be. Now, with saying that, I'm not saying that a lot of other, like Jay, name like a couple other comic books, like say Batman Begins and stuff like that. Those movies are
good.
fine. They're good movies. They're exactly what they should be. But for some reason, Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool, and Thor Ragnarok, in my opinion, are what comic book movies should feel like. And I'm not talking about the banter and the action, both of which were great. The CGI was really good. It didn't feel like you're watching a CGI, even though I say that when there's a giant green muscle monster running around. But I didn't feel like I was watching a CGI movie, kind of like I did with the Star Wars prequels. So it was like, oh god,
Did you see it in 3D or flat?
I saw it in flat.
You saw it in flat? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Keep going. Sorry.
Okay. But I walked out of the theater thinking, wow, this was actually... It was entertaining. I had a really fun time. I don't always feel that way when I walk out of a movie. It's like, man, I really enjoyed myself. It was a great movie. So yeah, I honestly think you should. I think everyone has seen it almost. If you haven't, get out and go see it.
Yeah,
I haven't. I suck.
But no, you don't suck. You got a life, and it's the holidays. It's hard to get out to see a movie.
I have very limited opportunities to go see movies, unfortunately, and it's Thor Ragnarok was probably number 4 on my list for the holiday season, it fell behind Justice League and Star Wars and Coco, if I see that. So
that's understandable.
Yeah,
it's still worth seeing, I will say.
Corey, any thoughts on Thor Ragnarok?
I did. I wanted to say that it was one of the... We were talking about this earlier, about the kind of reconsidering the idea of seeing most AAA blockbuster films in 3D, because there's just some sort of there's a sort of like a weird sensory muting phenomenon that occurs sometimes.
Yeah.
Here, situationally speaking, I thought of this after I saw Doctor Strange again on Netflix on a much smaller screen, one that fits in a living room. And I was like, like structurally speaking, that's probably one of the best movies that Marvel's done so far. Because there's not like there isn't the micro universe or the microverse problem that I talk about with a lot of Marvel movies. It was paced really well, and it wasn't as tonally all over the place as I thought the movie was on the big screen, because the stuff that stuck out to me then were like the low key humor moments. But for some reason, I just kind of let go of like all the kung fu-iness and stuff that was going on. There was a lot of like little character quirks and shit that I didn't pick up on the first time, and not to go off the rails completely. One of the things that happened when I saw Thor, same sort of an effect. Now, granted, it had a lot less to do with pacing, shit like that, and more to do with like when you see movies in 3D that feature a lot of digital sets, suddenly scale becomes you become much more aware of how much there isn't, in a manner of speaking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when, like, we'll say that, for instance, somebody is getting out of a ship in a set that's supposed to be like a huge expanse, like it's all outdoors, it'll seem like there's the ship and then there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Because there's something off. I don't know if it's an Uncanny Valley issue or whatever the fuck. It's not just as effective as like location shooting, but that was one of the things that hit me about Thor. Now, granted, everything else about it, what you were talking about with like it feeling more comic booky and like wholly embracing that sort of framing.
Yeah.
It excelled at that. That was one of very few movies that was just like, look, we're shoving the entire fucking everything that's like weird and outlandish about comic books, and we are not scraping anything off into the fucking gutters. Top 5 Marvel movies for me, personally.
Cool.
But certainly not the first. Probably at around 4 or 5, because of those other issues with film structure that I have with AAA stuff. Anyway, sorry,
Sure.
Not to completely take over the whole thing, but that was what I thought of it.
Cool.
Yes.
So I saw Justice League, and this was one where I went in expecting to see something fun, and then the Rotten Tomato stuff started hitting, and there's been some interesting stuff behind that. Like there were a few reviewers on Twitter who said, "Hey, RT, why are you giving this a rotten rating when it's a B+ for me, or it's a solid B for me?" When I had almost the exact same review for Ragnarok, and you gave that a fresh. So there's definitely some interesting shit going on there, but not interesting enough for me to really think there's a conspiracy going on. Just it's an algorithm. Deal with it.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but whatever. But when the Rotten Tomato score started hitting and I saw it coming in around a 38%, 40%, I was like, oh, well, fuck, all right, this universe is dead in the water. And I kind of went in with very low expectations, and man, I was really happy with the film. It's very fun. It's not a terribly smart movie. It's definitely still got the bones of a Zack Snyder, or Zack Ryder, if you want to play that video drop again.
Woo, 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 you know it.
But it's good and it's fun, and it definitely sets up. I walked out of it more hopeful for the DC universe than I expected to be, because they really got a lot of the characters right. The villain's very forgettable. A lot of the CGI kind of sucks, and Bob, we talked about that yesterday. Where
comics have such a fucking villain problem right now, or
they
at least
really
comic
do.
movies.
Paramount played hardball and would not let Henry Cavill shave his mustache from Mission Impossible 6, despite the fact that the Warners offered to digitally add it back in.
Fuck, I read about this.
Yeah, it's such a fucking...
It's so petty.
Whose little dick is bigger contest between the two studios, and it's just like, man...
Did anybody point out the cost differential between CGIing a mustache off versus gluing a fucking fake one on?
Well, that was the other thing. That's part of it as well. They're like, well, you can just put a fake one on.
Uh-huh.
No. It's got to be removed. Well, can he shave it and can he shave it and we'll pay out of our pocket to have it digitally added back on? No, you guys need to remove it.
Hollywood.
Yep. Yay, Paramount. Thanks, guys.
Right.
So yeah, that happened. I'm happy to say that Jason Momoa is goddamn fantastic as Aquaman, and I cannot wait to see his Aquaman film. Mm-hmm. He is absolutely playing Aquaman from Brave and the Bold.
Cool.
Like, he is
All right.
big and brash and boisterous and outlandish and wonderful, and it's great.
So that's the second time Aquaman has broken out in media. And hopefully this time it'll carry over into the comics somehow without any drastic changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
The comics are still
Ben
dull as
Affleck,
shit.
I think, does a really good Batman, but I don't think he's long for the role because I think he wants out. Gal Gadot is phenomenal as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Ezra Miller is really good as Bart Allen. He does not play Barry Allen, despite what the casting may say. He is 1,000% Impulse.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray Fisher is really good as Cyborg. But the best performance in the film was Henry Cavill. They actually wrote him as Superman. They got Superman right, finally. So it's
how many tries?
Yeah, exactly. So this was try number 3 for that particular version of the Man of Steel, and this was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
You'd think that'd be an easier feat to pull off given the amount of templates that pop culture has laid before this particular film.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But as you know, I mean, you saw the Snyder movies. He was dark and gritty and moody and sullen and not prone to being funny.
He wasn't Superman.
He was not Superman, and he wasn't Clark Kent, more importantly. They got there kind of in Batman Superman, but not all the way. And in this one, there's a few scenes where it is very clear that Joss Whedon got a hold of the script and said, no, this is not Clark. This is how Clark acts. Like, he cracks jokes. He's goofy. There's one scene I was telling Bob yesterday where he actually, like, legit makes a dad joke where it's like, oh, that is something that your dad would have said that you just clung on to as a Midwestern farm boy and you think is hilarious, that everyone else is just going to look at and go, okay, yeah, that's Clark, okay.
So it has some cringe to it.
Yeah. But it was really good. I really liked it. I'm disappointed that the box office is sucking out loud, but it's a fun fucking film. So,
What was the deal with, like, now when you're talking about the Rotten Tomatoes scores, was it mainly the reviewer side, like the certified reviewer side, or the user score side?
No, reviewer side is last I checked, and I'll actually look it up right now as we're talking. Last I checked was at 41%, I believe. It's one of the few films that has actually gone up in score after release, which is kind of interesting. But the user score has remained pretty consistent. It's like a solid 85%. Which is kind of shocking because that's a big disparity between the critics and the audience score. All right, so it's doubled. Tomato meter is currently at 41% for the reviewers and 82% for the audience. So
I'm looking at Box Office Mojo for this weekend. It looks like it came in second. It had it almost won the weekend over Coco.
I'm really surprised by that, actually.
Yeah, me too. Really?
Yeah, Coco brought in 49 million and Justice League brought in 40.
Huh.
That's a fucking good second week for Justice League.
That's a really good second week. And
so maybe the people are speaking up, saying, "Hey, this isn't as bad as
some
websites are saying."
I hope so, and I hope the Warners don't lose sight of the fact that they've got an opportunity for something really special here.
Yeah.
So that's. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Whoa! Fuck.
Is there another spider?
No. No. Just tapped the laptop and everything's fine. That's not a euphemism. I legitimately tapped it with my hand because I have ADD and I'm fidgeting with Legos. So
the Hubble hit the satellite of love again.
Joel broke the Hubble. But that's my thoughts on Justice League. Corey, you want to talk about some Punisher action there?
Saw the Punisher. I'm actually 2 episodes away from capping it off. I wanted to put the brakes on a little bit. Because there was other shit going on this weekend. Sure. And so weird. Like, this weekend was actually more hectic than the work week was, but fucking never mind. Yeah. So who has seen any of it, or who has heard of any of it so far?
None of it.
Heard.
Nothing. Okay. All right. That show's a hard fucking watch. It's that's not to say that it's not good. It is actually quite, except for like one glaring, dark spot. It's been pretty consistently friggin' excellent from stem to stern. Dark spot being episode 9. We'll get there. It's brutal. Like, there are a lot of bits in the 2004 Punisher that I remember when we were watching it with your wife. She was like that, but it wasn't. Yeah, it goes so fucking far beyond that, though.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Which Punisher is that?
Thomas Jane Punisher.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because that was still at least framed within the vibe of, like, with the comic book kind of panache. I mean, it was Kevin Nash played the Russian, and he dressed like he was in the comics, so it was just like, okay, well, somebody got a machete in the head, but hi, Jinx. Anyway, This is much darker and married to that whole Netflix conceptualization of hyper reality that pretty much guides the rest of that sort of a universe. But it's probably the most distanced that the Netflix verse has gotten from the rest of the MCU. Like, they barely mention anything else, even Daredevil.
Really,
and that's with one of Daredevil's supporting cast in it. They almost never mention him, like, at all. It deals with a lot of darker subject matter as well. PTSD is a big one. They harp on his time in the military and how it's kind of affecting current events and stuff, and the people that he knows. And of course, somebody from his past is trying to fuck with him in the present day, because you gotta. It's comics.
You need conflict.
Yeah, well, you need conflict. And that's the only real complaint I have about it, is that it's more microverse problems. But whatever. I'll explain that in some other show when somebody asks about it. But just fucking brutal shit. Funny thing, though, about that show, he does a lot of punishing in the first 3 episodes, kind of takes a break for about 4 episodes or 5 episodes after that.
Hey, everybody needs a break.
I guess so. I mean, if you're doing that kind of work, you're going to spend yourself pretty quickly, even if you've been, trained by one of the sternest militaries, I guess, on the planet. I don't know. I'm not a Marine, not even close to one, so I don't know what really goes on there. And a lot of the PTSD is also sublimated by another undercurrent plot thread within the show about another soldier who starts committing terrorist acts and stuff, so they can try to delineate the agenda of Frank versus, I guess, not acceptable versions of vigilante actions or whatever.
It's that fine line that Arrow stumbled over for the first 4 seasons.
The first season, I think Arrow did it really well, except for that bullshit Huntress episode, which they didn't even explain afterwards.
No, they just it didn't happen. No.
And
they retconned it.
That's exactly what the 9th episode of The Punisher was.
Oh, really?
Was the Huntress episode from Arrow.
Okay.
That was crap, man. Even if the guy is dirty as dirty gets throughout this entire affair, at least make it consistent, you know? don't make him philosophize. Oh, and when the Punisher talks, you know you're doing something fucking wrong. So thankfully, it was just one episode.
Frank is not a chatty Cathy. He's
not a chatty Cathy. He doesn't crack wise. Matt Fraction, and I know he got better after 3 issues, but still, it was very weird. And he certainly doesn't like apply philosophical dimensions to what he does. It's punishment. That's
as far as it goes with Frank. It's
says that shit right on the tin.
Yeah, he's not a deep dude. It's why do you kill them? They need punishment.
Yeah.
All right. That's
there's a lot more to say about it, but this is not a written medium, so I'm going to kind of keep it as concise as I can.
Sure.
That's what you get with the Punisher.
All right. How about Coco?
Coco made me cry a lot.
Oh.
What's a lot? Like your popcorn was soggy?
Okay, the first time it happened, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. The second time it happened, and I'm like, fuck. And then the third time it happened, because I didn't want people to think that there was something fucking wrong with me by this point, and we are in a very public area. Doesn't matter if the lights are down. I was doing one of these, and tell me if this seems familiar. Like that.
So, was it good at least?
It was so good that if it were a live-action movie, the Academy would snub it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my movies of the year. If you got kids that are emotionally resonant with movies, do not take them. Apparently, I don't know why this didn't occur to me walking into the theater, but a movie about death has people dying in it. So, consider that before taking the youngins.
That's very similar to my experience when I saw Frankenweenie. So I saw Frankenweenie when I was on my second Disney cruise. Mm-hmm. And I was in the theater by myself because no one else went on it. Because Meredith is asleep and Victor is taking a nap. And I was like, well, this is an opportunity for me to go see this movie I wanted to see last year, and I didn't get a chance to. Mm-hmm. Never crossed my mind that, one, I'm away from my dog, so I miss my dog.
Oh, no.
And two, it doesn't cross my mind that the movie about the Frankenstein dog would involve the fucking dog dying at the start.
Oh, no. No.
So the dog dies, and I'm just fucking sobbing in the theater. Sobbing.
Are people moving away from you at this point?
I was the only one in there.
Oh, God.
I was the only one in the theater. So not only am I sad, I'm alone and sad.
Oh, no. God.
It was awful. The movie was wonderful, but it was fucking awful.
That's, man, that's like a reverse Paul Rubin scenario, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, go see Frankenweenie if you've never owned a dog. I strongly suggest
I'm going to now, just because I remember liking the short back in the day. I don't, how the fuck that got past me, but yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah. It's worth it. And if you don't get a chance to see it, I'll bring the Blu-ray over so you can see it. So, Corey, we're at the ass end of it now, but you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of Noirvember, which you and I kicked off with The Nice Guys at the start of the month?
Which is a peripherally noir movie, but I'll let it slide simply because it's fucking good.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a really excellent movie.
I wish it had a sequel.
Me too. Well, it's getting a TV show. Did you know that?
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, it's not going to be The Nice Guys. It's going to be The Nice Girls.
Sure.
Apparently. So, bit of a casting change, I guess. But hopefully it's still got a lot of that Shane Blackness about it. If not, the movie always exists. Go see the movie. Especially since it didn't do shit for the box office. Well, we're just talking about The Punisher. Speaking of things that are like really moody and, incessantly downer, this month is Noirvember. Excuse me. Still thinking about Coco, goddammit. And Noirvember gives way to an appreciation for all things, existentially dreadful. A lot of tough guys and dangerous dames doing, dirty deeds around a large and sprawling and frightening city. So I was like trying to rack up. I typically use this month as like a way to discover old things that I haven't like maybe happened upon before. It's been kind of like a low count right now though, because I haven't been renting as many movies like on Amazon as I should have because of money issues. So I went over. I saw a couple of ones that were like Noirvember favorites, at least. Saw the big combo again, which is great. What else? It was The Nice Guys. I saw one a couple of days ago called Whistle Stop. That was a lot better than I thought it would be. That was George Raft and like the only noir I've seen Ava Gardner in, even though she's supposed to be like all over that filmscape. And I have a newfound appreciation for her, so I'd like to see more of her movies now. And then I watched The Third Man again, which I'll watch outside of November because it is such a good fucking flick. And I know that like when I try to break people into Noirvember, I'll use something that's in color, or like I'll say, hey, Point Blank's pretty great. It has a lot of like very discordant like photography, and that can kind of draw people into its its warped amoral world and stuff like that. Or like with you, The Nice Guys, or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I'm going to start seeing how people respond to The Third Man, because it's so idiosyncratic from what you think of as noir, and yet it fits into that. A lot of people call it like the quintessential avatar of that sort of category, but it doesn't have muted trumpet soundtracks. It's actually klezmer. It takes place in... I've seen it enough times. It's not Switzerland, it's Poland, I believe, and it's post-war, and it has to do with people kind of capitalizing upon the ruins of certain territories in Europe after the war happened, and it's fucking just I can't like stop thinking about it after I see it again, and it like stays in my head for like a good couple of weeks. But yeah. I'm basically just selling The Third Man right now. So the next time y'all are like within my vicinity at some point, I'm probably gonna like shove that in your face and be like, "We're fucking watching this like right now."
Cool.
Put aside 3 hours of your life. It's going down.
Did you ever get a chance to watch LA Confidential again? Because I know you had said at the start of the month that you wanted to do that.
Oh shit, no! But I'm gonna do that tonight because I wanted to do a movie before work started this week. Yeah.
There.
So thank you for reminding me.
I've helped.
Yeah. Tonight is going to be Curtis Hansen's seminal modern-day neo-noir, LA Confidential, and thank you, Jay, for reminding me that movie exists.
No problem. Now, this is not on the rundown, but Corey, you've been watching the Orville, right?
Yeah, I have. Okay. Yeah.
So I have not seen the latest episode yet with Robert Picardo, so no spoilers there. Mm-hmm. But how are you liking the show so far?
Considerably more than like a lot of the Trek over, if that's how you say it. Mm-hmm. But there's this kind of a weird effect in watching it, and I know that like most of the episodes are still like new ideas, because I get the idea that McFarlane's kind of a fan of Star Trek. I don't know if anybody else feels that.
A little bit.
So I know that he's not going to like double up on a Trek episode that already exists, but whenever I watch the Orville, aside from the obvious reasons, what's up?
It feels familiar.
I mean, accepting the fact that it's like a show about an extraplanar exploratory vessel, blah blah blah, and it's an ensemble cast, and there's a lot of social and cultural commentary. Got that? It feels like I've actually seen some of the episodes before on other Trek shows.
It plays very much like that. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. It is. I think a lot of it is McFarlane's love letter to not only Star Trek, but to certain like touchstone episodes for him. Mm-hmm, because there are certain things, like Bob and I have talked about it, where we've been like, this really felt like this particular episode of TNG.
Yeah, exactly.
Where something happened like that. Like there was one where the one with Neeson's, where they go inside that ship. There was an episode of TNG that to me, it felt like the one where Scotty came back, because they go inside of this Dyson sphere. And they go inside of it, and they can't move anywhere. They've got to stay there. They've got to discover what's going on. I was like, this feels just like the episode I watched yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. But it's not exactly like it. It's the same sort of plot, but used to illustrate a different point.
It's to put it in terms that would relate to Tenacious D. It's a tribute. It's
well, yeah. I mean, the entire show is.
Yeah, but it's so close that it's like, this feels the same, but it's very clearly not, because I mean, there wouldn't be, you know, blue alien ejaculate all over the place in Star Trek.
Yeah, and that was the second surprising thing about that show, is that the laughs are actually in the background for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some obvious ones, like a lot of them have to do with like character profiles and such. And by the way, I lost my shit at the dog licking his balls.
I remember that because I watched that with you.
I instantly channeled Corey when I saw that.
There was because it's in the background and you're like, that's Seth MacFarlane, that's funny as shit. And then it cuts back to the characters that were sitting at the helm, and the one goes to the other. Yo, y'all see that dog looking at his balls in the background? I'm like,
literally the only thing I could. Literally the first thing I saw.
It was like I'm liking that show quite a bit, because it's, I think, how somebody like an outsider like me would approach the Trek concept if they were charged with like trying to make it themselves or something.
Sure.
I don't know. Context. I've never been a really big Trekkie. I don't know if you like set that up in previous podcasts or not.
Not really, because I didn't know what your overall appreciation of it was. Like, I know you love Wrath of Khan, and I know
Wrath of Khan can stand by itself, though, head and shoulders above a lot of non-Trek movies.
Sure.
That shit's a classic, and don't let anybody ever tell you different. I like Wrath of Khan.
But I know you had also seen some episodes of Enterprise that you liked.
Enterprise was interesting because it was like a lo-fi version of the stuff that you'd seen before, and it was mainly the trappings. But yeah,
so that was about the only knowledge I had of what your exposure to Trek was. So it was basically the stuff we had talked about was me kind of coming into it as kind of an almost 40-year-old, not having watched it since I was a kid, and Bob being the lifelong fan. So.
Yeah. And I don't know if this would be the appropriate time to tease this, but I'm also making like inspired by the previous podcast that you guys been doing. I was going to do like a top 10 Trek episodes, list of Trek episodes that I remember having a huge impact, whether or not they were actually good. So these were like things that would matter to somebody who isn't really embedded into the Trek culture, but still remembers that stuff resonating.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd be very interested in your list.
Sure. Yeah. If your episode of Voyager featuring The Rock is not on there, I'm going to be very disappointed in you.
Oh, shit. I've seen very little Voyager, though, so damn it. Was that when SmackDown was on UPN?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a cross-promotional thing? I kind of have to see that.
It's
all right.
I'm watching Voyager right now, and it is... I was telling Bob this yesterday, and this will probably cost us viewers, so I apologize, Bob, but... I liked the first season of Voyager so much more than I liked the first season of Next Generation.
That's understandable.
But at the same time, like I was telling Bob, there are so many mistakes that they are making in the first season of Voyager that are identical to the mistakes they made in the first season of TNG, where I'm like, guys, fucking pay attention. These are the problems you already had. Like,
just check the logs.
Yeah, seriously, come on. Like, someone had to write down, no, we don't need a know-it-all brat as our fucking helmsman. You know, we don't need fucking... but don't swing the exact opposite way. Like, yeah, you had Wesley, who was a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. Don't get a fucking doofus like Harry Kim and expect things to be fine. Harry Kim is awful. Awful. Oh, God. All right, so anyway, this is not a Trek episode. I don't know if you guys can tell, but by the co-hosts I've got here in my computer screen, we are talking about Mystery Science Theater 3000. And Bob, you did a nice little drawing back there of our 30th episode of Nerd or Not.
If you can't see it, just go to our Instagram. I took a closer shot of it. I'm not an artist in any way.
Pardon me. I have to ask, what's Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Bite me!
What's this? I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Oh, look, it says Breach Hole, all die. Even had it underlined. So if you guys don't know, this past Thursday on Thanksgiving here in the U.S. was MST3K's 29th anniversary. Started back in Minneapolis, Minnesota on the local public access station there, using the films that they had the rights to for the station to show at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Basically, it's what any of us who were nerds that were in the AV club or in TV production did in high school. They just got paid for it.
Yeah, only they were funny.
Yeah. Hey, I
take umbrage with that. Thank you very much.
I still say that some of our Batman's episodes would hold up to our best Batman episodes would hold up to the worst MST3K episodes.
Yeah.
We might get more votes than the worst of the MST3K.
Yeah.
3 weeks lat.
God, there's so many inside jokes there nobody else gets. I love it.
It's just, we can make a list of them, but yeah, that's a good way to lose people.
The 11th season of MST3K just came to an end this year on Netflix with new lackey Jonah Ray in the hot seat with the bots. And we found out on Thursday, on Thanksgiving, Joel Hodgson announced that Netflix has greenlit a 12th season. So there will be more MST3K coming our way. And I can only hope that we see a revisit to the wonders of Reptilicus, because God damn it, that song was wonderful. So before we get into what the actual topic is, guys, we're going to be talking about our top 3 favorite episodes of the show each. I want to first visit 2 questions, and this is not in the rundown, so this is on the spot shit. Improv, yes, and how did you guys discover MST3K?
Weirdly enough, it was Thanksgiving vacation. I think it was when my parents. I don't know if this is still a thing that happens with nuclear families. Fucking try to sound more like an old fart. I don't know if this thing keeps going on nowadays with people in their fart schmoans and their fucking twatters and whatever the fuck else you're all obsessed with.
What the fuck?
I don't know. Whatever. It was. We went up to fucking Dillard in Georgia, which was like a thing that happened in my family every year because of the Dillard house, in which you can like drop $20 a plate on that, on walking in and just fucking stuff yourself to death. But my dad and I were waiting for my mom and my sister to get ready. And we actually started watching a marathon of Spider-Man on USA, the old Spider-Man show. Where,
no shit.
Yeah, they had where they had to like harness them up the side of a building and stuff. I'm still impressed by the absolute like just artisanship behind the crappy production values on that show. And then, kind of keeping in with that theme, we started watching MST3K because we didn't know what the fuck it was. Mm-hmm. It was an old movie, and we were like, why are these voices? Where's the voices coming from? We just heard, the wisecracks, the bots doing their job. And my dad was like, what are those guys down there? What's going on with that? And I noticed a silhouette. And I don't remember which one it was because, the shtick is universal, carries over. But I think we came back after eating, and then we saw like 2 more hours of it. And my dad fucking fell in love with it. So that was where the station was. That's where it stayed for a little while.
Nice.
Yep.
It's always easier when Dad gives it the thumbs up. It's like, all right, I can get into this.
Easily.
How about you, Bob? How did you discover it?
There was a show on long time ago when I was a kid called Mad Movies, where basically they would take dialogue and they would replace it with their own words to try to lip sync it. It was basically bad lip reading. Sure. And it was, I think I was like 6, 7, or 8 years old, and I thought, this is hilarious. And then it was one of those shows that I didn't keep track of, it just went away. And then a few years later, I'm trying to explain the show Mad Movies to a friend of mine. He says, yeah, on this new channel, Comedy Central, there's a show very similar to that, where it's like this guy and robots, and they're like, really? What? And, oh, Lord, I fell in love the very first episode I saw. And I think it was Santa Claus
Conquers the Martians.
Conquers the Martian. That's the first episode I saw. Yeah.
Well, that's a goddamn good one to start with. That was a fucking fantastic episode.
And by the way, shout out for Mad Movies mention. That show doesn't get nearly the amount of love that I think it deserves.
I think it was like a syndicated show, right?
It was on Nick at Night, and what they would do is they would take old pre-code. What is it like? What's that called when something isn't cordoned by rights anymore? Open
public access.
Public
public domain.
Public Dominion, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm kind of spacing right now. They would take old Public Dominion movies, condense them into like a half an hour, and they would basically Most Extreme Elimination Challenge dub it. And and the penultimate scene of every Mad Movies was when the lead would kiss the love interest. So if you're in middle school when you were watching this, that was the part that you always look forward to, because half the references are going to sail over your fucking head. I'm not too proud to admit that. But whenever the big kiss would happen, you would hear a fart noise.
Darling, have you ever noticed that sound when we kissed? I thought that was you.
It was it was just absolutely gratuitous, and it was fucking glorious. It was like that one Calvin and Hobbes strip where it was Calvin and Susie playing detective and dame, but they drew it realistically. It was like that, but given motion, given like real, given dimension, and shit. It was so great.
That's wonderful.
I love that show.
Anyway. So I've never seen Mad Movies, but I need to look it up. I remember discovering Mystery Science Theater 3000. I was homesick one day, and Comedy Central was playing it at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was after what was that? Short Attention Span Theater.
Short Attention Span Theater, yes.
And,
hosted by a young Jon Stewart.
Yes. And it came on, and I was homesick, and it came on, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was so sick, I couldn't find the remote. So I was like, all right, I'll just watch it, whatever. And I was laughing so hard, I was dry heaving from coughing. Because I was laughing so hard at the show. And I knew at that point, if you can make me sick, I'm sticking with it. Like, and it was just from then on out. It was every Saturday. I could not do anything except watch MST3K in the morning, and then my day could start. Like, until then, my day was not ready. It's a fucking great show. So the second follow up I have is MST3K the movie. What is your single favorite line from the film? Bob, you look like you need a minute, so I will start with Corey, and then I'll pick it up after him.
It's like, which of my children do I love more?
Oh, well, it's Mick. It's. I'm sorry. That was
ugly one.
That was off. That was terrible. I'm sorry.
That's a good survival approach to have in mind. I'm glad you got the raft problem sorted out so far ahead. Sorry, I think that might be the psychology.
It doesn't even have to be favorite. It can just be like which lines, plural, are most memorable to you. Like the first one that pops into mind for me, and it's just because we always make the joke, it's Heil Hitler. Like it's because it's so fucking absurd. Because he just pops up, and then it's the guy who is moving from stage right rear to stage left front, and it's
okay. God, that movie is perfect.
It is. And
Lactose intolerant.
All right. The three of us do this all the time. I'll do my most
It
memorable.
took my 3 lines.
Well, all right.
I've got one line, I got another backup, and then just in case, I've got a backup, and you took all fucking 3 of them.
Then we'll all do this one in unison. Ready?
All right, go ahead.
Are you boys cooking in there?
No.
Are you building it in Rossiter?
No.
Use only genuine Interocitor parts.
Someone's been ordering from the Adam and Eve collection again.
We'll start here at Goofy Clownface.
All right.
I'm your pilot, Harvey the Rabbit, and Claude Rains.
Normal view.
Normal view. Normal view. It's the Brack Show, starring me. I'm Brack. It's the Brack Show.
And one more, just for good measure. Dog Exeter.
First, I'll ram my ovipositors down your throat and lay my eggs in your chest. But I'm not an alien.
There are 2 Woodies in this scene.
What's this and the rest crap?
Oh my god.
Oh fuck, that's such a great movie.
How did it's almost as if they knew that this was going to be like the part that they were going to gain the most exposure from. So they like called the best of their best shit into this one. Cuz there isn't a wasted minute in that movie as far as dialogue goes.
Even in the credits. Mm-hmm. Eastman, he came out of the East to do battle with the Amazing
Rando! Oh, shit. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So we were supposed to come up with like one line each. And I think we each threw out like a good 6 or 7.
We're just reciting the movie at this point.
Yeah, basically. It's one of those great movies though that you can like actually have a codified conversation with just by bouncing lines off of each other's heads, and it will still count as a fully evolved conversation. So yes, that's how I lean politically in today's tumultuous social climate.
That's how I want to vote for my next president. How many lines from the movie he can recite, or she?
Hey, I can see Cal's pelvic bone.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
Should I tell Rue she has an extra rib?
Let's slip away under
Corey, don't drink. Don't drink.
Let's slip away under cover of mid-afternoon sky. Brilliant strategy, Napoleon.
God damn.
Man. All right, so on to the actual topic now that I've completely ruined the show.
Hey, at least you did it this time. Oh, god damn.
All right, so
anyway,
top 3 episodes of MST3K, and it is totally fine if there is overlapping here.
All right.
There's going to be overlapping.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that one of those overlaps is going to be Final Sacrifice.
Not on my list.
Not mine.
No shit.
No shit.
All right. Does that mean I start?
Yes.
Sure. Go for it.
All right. Final Sacrifice. This town's carburetor is shot. Which, now, the reason it's at the top of my list is because, like, yeah, it's Zeta grade schlock, and I would be surprised if the budget for that movie eked into, like, the 4-digit range. I honestly actually think that's a pretty good movie. I don't know why, but everything there is, like, cohesive, and I guess that, you know, people watching this that are like, this guy has, like, shit taste in movies. I probably do. And that's going to be Exhibit A, and probably trying to point that out, but yeah, it was. I actually thought Final Sacrifice was a good movie, but it was wonk as shit, and and the MST3 guys were really good at pointing that out. Second one is Secret Agent Super Dragon.
Hell yes.
Yeah,
that was number 6, on my list.
Was number 6.
Super Dragon. Yep.
Yeah, because Secret Agent, Super Dragon, and Touch of Satan, a movie in which we learn that a lake is where the fish live. And that's my top 3.
All right, so for me, number 3 is actually from the new season. It would be Reptilicus. The song is so fucking memorable. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I enjoyed the movie, kind of like what you had. Like, I'm watching the movie, I was like, this isn't as bad as they're making it out to be, but yes, it is. It's horrible. Yeah. It's an awful film. But it's just, their riffing made me enjoy the movie so much more than I would have otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
What a perfect restart, or kickoff to the new season.
Absolutely. Too. Absolutely 100% accurate. Number 2 for me is Mitchell. Anytime that you can riff on a film and the star of said film, Mr. Joe Don fucking Baker, threatens to kick the shit out of everyone on the cast if he ever meets them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was mad that they riffed on it.
Well, that's very Joe Don Baker.
Yep. It's marvelous. It's absolutely marvelous. But number 1 for me is the one that I've seen more than any other episode, and it is I Accused My Parents.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Because primarily of how taken aback the guys are at how awful all the characters are in the film, because everyone is horrible. There's no redeeming character in the movie, and they make note of that. They're like, what is happening here? And Jimmy is just an idiot. He is the stupidest fucking character on the planet. You're a shoeshine boy that gets wrapped up with the mob. You deserve every bad thing that happens to you.
Where is he on the Harry Kim level of stupidity?
He is dumber than Harry Kim. Harry Kim can at least play the clarinet. And the reason I Accuse My Parents stands out to me is because not only do you get a classic short with it, it's also not a sci-fi film.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stands out a little bit because a lot of them are set, like there's so many Gamera episodes and so many just random, dudes flying in space and shit like that when it's a courtroom drama. That one's stuck in my head. So
yeah. It's like models and fishing line are a pretty low barrier to access for an MST3K initiate. This is them trying to do at least medium level difficulty.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. How about you, Bob?
Number 3 would be Retevicus, just like yourself. Yep. It was, like I just said, the perfect way to kick off the new Netflix season. And if anybody had any doubt, this is what you're getting. It was great. Great. After that, number 2, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. Because I was a big fan of whenever they did one of the Gamera episodes, so I condensed it all 5 into one, because basically it's all the same thing.
Sure.
Gamera, the giant
is really
monster.
Neat. Gamera is full of meat. We all love you, Gamera.
Yeah, Gamera the giant monster, Gamera versus Barugon, Gamera versus Gyarados, Gamera versus Zygon, and Gamera versus Gurion. I probably butchered all those names.
It's okay. We don't have any listeners in Japan.
They did that many Gamera movies?
Yeah.
They did 5 back in their season 0 up in Minnesota, and then they, on their first, when they went to Comedy Central, they redid all 5 again. A lot of jokes, a lot of new jokes. Obviously, the Comedy Central versions are better.
Right.
But my number 1 episode would have to be Laser Blast.
Laser
Blast is fucking awesome.
Laser Blast is my number 4.
I can't believe I fucking forgot about that one. Oh
Laser Blast was great because they kept Leonard Maltin he gave it like 2.5 stars in his official movie book. And there's all these other big name, well-respected movies that he gave a lower score to, but Laser Blast got 2.5 stars. And they kept pointing that out. And there was one character in the movie, every time it happened, there was like this deputy in the movie, and he looks a lot like Hank Williams Jr. And they would just shout out, "Are you ready for some football?
You have the right to be ready for some football!"
It got me every time. It's like, you're running this joke into the ground, but it's a deep ground.
See, that was the best part about them, is they ran every joke into the ground. Like, there was no mercy with their jokes.
Yeah.
But it worked every fucking time.
Well, they were good at tilling fertile soil as far as running jokes went. Yeah,
very true. Very true. Does anyone remember Mr. B Natural?
Maybe. Which one was that?
Mr. B Natural was an episode. I think the Mr. B Natural was the short in front of a movie, where it was a short about music, where Mr. B Natural was played by a woman, and kind of like Peter Pan was on stage. And like all the jokes are Mr. B Natural. I feel funny. It's the guys are just having a field day with it, and it was just one of the most ridiculous films I've ever seen. It's terrible. Do watch it if you have the opportunity.
I'll try to. Scream Factory has got a good chunk of MST3K stuff available to watch for free, I think, on Roku.
Netflix has a bunch of them now too because they got the deal over there. So
not all of them though. There's
not
a good
all.
chunk missing.
And weirdly enough, not as many as they used to. Remember that back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do, because half of my list was single episodes of MST3K because none of them were stored together.
Yep. Yep. And then one day, suddenly your watch list is like cut right the fucking half.
That is gonna lead us to the what you doing section, and I will kick things off. I've got 2. So I mentioned it kind of briefly at the start of the show. I have completed both seasons 1 and seasons 2 of Stranger Things, and I watched 90% of that in Corey's apartment. Because I had gotten to a point where I had started the first episode of season 1, no joke, like 9 times, and gotten 10 or 15 minutes into it, and then some shit had popped up where I wasn't able to watch it.
All those false starts.
Yeah.
But you finally made it.
And finally, I got to Corey's place, and I got there at like noon, and he had to go to work, and I was like, well, I got 11 hours. It's time to watch some scary shit. So I did, and it was great. And then I finished season 2 when I got home. But great show. The other thing I'm doing, I checked out No Man's Sky from the library.
Wait, from the library?
Yeah.
I think that's a topic kind of by itself. I didn't know libraries are doing video games now.
Yes, sir.
No shit.
They're getting desperate.
Desperate. Come on. Go to the library.
My library is a hopping place. There's always people there. They've actually got a pretty good selection of PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U games.
Nice. And thank you, library, for the Wii U representation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of playing No Man's Sky because I wanted to see what it was all about. Because it was something I was very curious about last year. It's pretty fucking boring.
Yeah.
It's kind of like realistic sci-fi Minecraft. Mm-hmm. And I don't like Minecraft, so this game is not for me. I don't think. Sure is pretty. Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
Is it repetitive?
Yeah. I can't say it's repetitive because it hasn't held my attention more than like 45 minutes to keep playing it. So
when my nephew got it for Christmas one year, and I visited him afterwards. He was playing it when I showed up, and what he was doing was like drilling into rock, and he did that for like about an hour the day that I showed up, and then the next 2 days, not anymore. He just completely abandoned the entire thing. From what I could see of that game, is if that's all you're doing is like drilling for rock, then going back to your whatever satellite moon-based thing is, and just hopping back and forth between those two locations just to get more fucking rock, I think that the problem with the game isn't really in how your design was executed, but your design pretty much by itself.
Yeah.
Like, this thing could have used some finessing on paper.
Yeah, so like I started the game, and it's kind of neat because it like goes you through this kind of like launch sequence, and you get to your planet that you crashed on, and it's like, hey, you need to do this shit. You need to fix your ship. You need to fix your exosuit and all this. I was like, okay, cool. What do I have to do? Get some iron. I was like, oh shit, here we go. All right, I'll go get some iron. Hopefully,
Resourcing has begun.
Hopefully, this won't take long. And what it doesn't tell you is that the thing you use to drill with depletes energy, and once you're out of energy, it doesn't really tell you intuitively what you need to replenish it. So you go from, all right, I'm drilling and it's boring, to now I have to punch it and it takes forever. So I was like, I think we're done here pretty quick.
Yeah.
I restarted it today, right before the podcast. I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a fair shake. I'm going to give it another shot and see if I can figure anything out. And I figured more out. And I've kind of, learned that there are things that you use the drilling laser on. There's things that you just beat the shit out of with your fists. And it's still really fucking boring. So it's a bad video game.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to. Minecraft is at least charming in its own weird little way, even though I don't really like the game at all. It's at least got some style. This has nothing. Like,
there's if a kid who is unconditionally addicted to Minecraft can't get into No Man's Sky, then something has gone amiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never even bothered, even though it's gone on sale. I don't know fucking how many times over the last year. So yeah, right there with you. It was it's an experience, but not one you're going to pursue.
I would like to say I'm disappointed, but I'm not. I'm just kind of like, okay.
It's because I got the living shit torn out of it for the last. I think people are still bagging on the damn thing.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be better than what people were saying, because I kind of wanted to. I wanted Justice League. I wanted it to be Justice League, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be better than what people are saying. No. No, it's just as bad as folks say.
Yeah.
From what I'm understanding, people are saying it the most oversold game of all time. It was promised all these things and it just didn't live up to it.
Well, they promised a whole lot at launch and none of it was ready. And they have done some really big snafus on Twitter where they just kind of went silent and didn't respond to things.
That was an interesting time.
Yeah. When you're super active on the tweets, and then your game drops and people are pissed and you just go radio fucking silent, that is...
Oh, the Niantic method.
Oh, that's not actually where that drama ended.
Oh, really?
Apparently either whoever was in charge of the Twitter, they went rogue, or the official explanation is that their Twitter was hacked, because it happens.
Sure.
Allegedly. Somebody tweeted out from the account, No Man's Sky was a mistake. And then there were a couple of other tweets after that were just... there were a couple of other tweets after that were just as, like, you know, self-denigrating, and it was like, whoa, some straight-up fucking guiding light shit going on here today.
It's just a fucking As the World Turns theme playing over.
Yeah. Something's fucking crumbled. But it seemed like one of the leads kind of succumbed to the pressure. That was what it looked like. And, you know, I wasn't there, obviously. But what was said afterwards, or at least this was what was given to, you know, the various press outlets that covered it, was that their account was hacked into, and somebody just decided to fucking run them down while there. It was like, well, it was very inwardly aimed running down, but sure, we'll go with that story too.
Sure.
They've had a hard year, those guys.
Yeah, and you know, I've shipped video games. I know how hard it is and how easy it is to kind of have a nervous breakdown at the end of a submission period. And that's on a sports title. So I can't imagine what it's like on something that's open universe, not even just open world. But yeah, it still was not a good look. Like, it was just, you got to have someone that isn't responsible for the development of your game manning your Twitter at that point.
Yeah. Which sucks because Joe Danger is such a good game.
It really is.
Yeah.
Is that from the same guys?
Same studio, yeah. Hello Games.
Holy shit. Wow. Bob, you should get Joe Danger on Steam. It's really fucking fun.
Yeah. So, by the way, there's this.
Yeah. So, Bob, what are you doing?
Joe Danger, Steam.
Which I think is like $1.50 right now. Just saying.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's
awesome. I have a laundry list of games under $5 to get.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't end.
Yeah.
Consume.
So, what do I got going on? Let's see. This week, I am going to the post-Takeover War Games NXT tapings.
Okay.
Looking forward to that because NXT has been really good the last 2 months
yes, it
or
has.
so. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because the women's division just got gutted.
What happened?
I'm thinking they all got called up to Raw. Like,
I know Asuka did.
Asuka, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Sarah Logan, and I think that's
you
it.
Shitting me?
Yeah,
No,
I'm
they
impressed
called up
you're able
5.
to name everybody.
They called up 5. So I'm thinking we see some Mae Young Classic signings here at this next taping.
I noticed that Ember Moon was not on that list, though.
She's the champion right now.
Yeah.
So she... see, it usually happens that like whoever's holding the belt gets called up.
She just got it. She just wanted to take over. So,
Okay.
yeah. So those 5 debuted between SmackDown and Raw this week, and it's like their entire women's division right now is Ember Moon.
Aside from the 4 who were in the title match, which in my opinion were the best 4.
Yeah. It's what? It's Ember Moon, Nikki Cross, Peyton
Kairi
Royce,
Sane.
and Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
And then you've got Billie Kay, who's, friends with Peyton Royce. And that's all you have down there right now. So,
yeah, not for nothing. I'm kind of glad that she's got the stage now. Because I was getting used to her being just like a, prettier version of Dwayne Gill for the longest time.
Yeah. I'm hoping they sign Candice LeRae. I really am. I think Candice is awesome.
I think it's in the works. And one rumor I heard is that the reason that they're calling up all these women is for the Royal Rumble, possibly a 20-woman Rumble competition.
I'd be fine with that.
Oh, God.
Winner gets a title shot at Mania for whatever belt they want. I'm okay with that. Totally okay with that. I would really like to see them put that stipulation back on the Rumble where whoever wins gets a shot at any title they want, or any of the world titles they want, either one of them, as opposed to just the one for your brand. Because that's kind of like, well,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
It looked like they were going to do that last year, but then they just threw it out. It's like, no, let them go for SmackDown.
Yeah.
Actually, with Money in the Bank pay-per-view, that's now a multi-brand pay-per-view. So
Yes.
that's going to be a little interesting now that we have a big 5 instead of a big 4 now.
Yeah, with those 5 shows, Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series and Money in the Bank, Money in the Bank gets very interesting because that means whoever wins it will probably be able to go for a title shot on whatever show they want. And I hope that means they're going to bring in some NXT people to compete in that, because that would be really fucking interesting. Like if they like bring Aleister Black in for a Money in the Bank and he wins, and it's just like, well, where the fuck is he going to show up? Because he can now conceivably show up on any of the 3 shows. Or shit, they bring in one of the guys from the UK and have him win, and it's like, oh fuck. Okay, now it's just a question mark. I don't know what's going to happen anymore. It's the WWE has become far too predictable at times, and I think they need to really shake it up. And I think something like that is a good thing. So we'll see. Corey, what you doing?
Kind of a funny thing. The other day I wanted to start playing Doom PC, first person shooter, mouse or keyboard, or fucking go home. PC Master Race. Shh. Anyway, it's 60 gigs. Couldn't fit it onto my hard drive.
Sweet Christmas.
So what I'm doing now, it's a bulky game. Is that I started going through like my Steam queue and seeing what I've got installed and organizing it by size. And as it turned out, most of the games that could be drilled through in like a menial amount of time, but also take up the most gigs on the hard drive, is a lot of shit from like 2008 to 2011, 2012 or so. So I've been playing a lot of AAA games from around that era. And that time in the video game industry was special. We'll use that adjective.
What, like short bus special?
Short. I'll say back of the bus special, which is where a lot of people that are about to go into middle school that just discovered like edgy humor tend to sit, drawing poo in their notebooks, and then
that one kid that just discovered Monty Python.
Yeah, exactly. People are telling like dead baby jokes and shit. That's pretty much where it is. So it's basically like the 4chan section of the bus. Which kind of like maligns the games unintentionally, so maybe not. I don't know. We'll go back over that. So I started playing Bionic Commando because that's about a 9 gig game, and I was like, okay, I can do this in a week. And I started playing this last one like last year sometime, Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Mm-hmm. The 2 games could not be further apart from each other in terms of quality, and yet they were both, I'm not going to lie, pretty goddamn enjoyable. I mean, Lords of Shadow is quality, and I think that the reviews kind of glossed over its finer parts in order to kind of like take the spotlight off of AAA games, which was kind of a trend at the time. I don't really know why, but Bionic Commando, less favored within the review sphere, probably for good reasons, but it's still fun as fuck. And I think that the reason that let's focus on one to begin with. Bionic Commando, kind of a resuscitation, perhaps misguided, of a venerated old, IP for Capcom. It's like everyone knows you can't jump, so you swing, and you be swinging. So this was pretty interesting. They tried to take after the Gears of War kind of feel for it. So you don't really die unless you're really bad at it and you get shot at repeatedly. But the main method of traversal is swinging, and you can literally attach to anything that's on the stage and get around like that. So you're not really limited in that way. The gun action's remedial. What the fun stuff that you can do is that like you can actually assault and form assault strategies around your arm too. So you can like grapple a dude, throw him up in the air, do stuff like that, or you can use him as an object for other people. And the sky's the limit.
Oh, so you can beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker?
Yes, you can do that, and you can do a lot of that, as a matter of fact.
Awesome.
And it's quite fucking fun. Lots of really awkward jokes, and I'm not gonna like fib at you and say that they weren't fucking funny, by themselves. But it's either forced ass memes, and these are funny nowadays because by this point, whenever you're talking to like your kid or your nephew or something like that, and you're like, hey, I can have cheeseburger, or I put on my robe and wizard hat, you're basically doing the shit that your dad used to do when he would like quote Happy Days. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this game feels like to me. So it's like, haha, giant enemy crab, and you're like, It's funny. It's funny because I wasn't old when that was funny, legitimately. So there's a lot of that really corny edginess to it, and the swing mechanics are make it a really acrobatic, fun time. The other one is Lords of Shadow, which you'd think that like just by looking at the trailer, it would be like, oh, they already tried the Devil May Cry thing with Castlevania and it didn't work out. That's not quite what it is this time around. There's combo chain attacks, stuff like that, but they kind of, kill that adjective. What they did was like they brought in a lot of the scene progression stuff from Castlevania 64, which is not another great game to name drop when you're talking about good video games, but it's kind of like the two complemented each other. Because they took the stuff that worked in Lament of Innocence, and they took the stuff that worked, which was mostly not having to actually play the game, is from Castlevania 64, pushed it together, and then they added, and bless him for doing so, Patrick Stewart and this is the guy that's in a lot of movies about 4 years ago.
Neeson
300. What?
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler, yeah. They threw him in there, and it's not a bad game at all. Cool. It's just that I've kind of like taken a break from it because it's also a lengthy fucking game. They wanted to imbue the feel of an epic tale to it. They certainly accomplished it because it seems like some stages go on forever. But they're both pretty cool games, and you can get them for like fucking peanuts nowadays. So if you got nothing to do, you're putting down what's the thing? What's the big deal right now? Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild because you just had enough breathing wild air. Then go ahead and pick those two up on Steam. I think right now they're like a Coke and a song anyway. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's nice.
Old ass video games.
Nothing wrong with that. I've got that Castlevania game. I've got that and the sequel for my 360, and I haven't played them yet. I got that. I got both of those. I got Red Dead Redemption and something else for the 360 all last year for Christmas. And I was like, well, Jesus Christ. That's a lot of fucking video game right there. Like,
Red Dead Redemption by itself is a lot of fucking video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why isn't it on PC, God damn it?
Oh, because Rockstar hates you.
I know. What did I do? I guess I slag off on Grand Theft Auto, like, endlessly. But, I mean, Vice City, that was good.
Vice City was great.
Yeah. Just, the rest of it wasn't as good as Vice City. What can I do about that?
Vice City had style.
Yeah, it had style. And pizzazz. And it also had Ray Liotta.
Yes, it did.
Which was a factor in contributing to those two parameters, I believe.
I agree.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for this week. As you know, we feed off dialogue, so we ask you to subscribe, like, and engage us in the comments on anything we talked about today, especially your favorite lines from MST3K.
But we took all of them.
No. There's more.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. You mean from the show? Oh, okay.
Do it either here on Facebook or on Twitter. We are at Cretans Guild, all one word. So to all of our followers, new and old, we say, welcome to the Guild, and we'll talk to you soon.